is for our community, and that's what I plan to do. And I humbly ask for the people in Pittsburgh to want to have, out of the two positions we have available, one to be new blood, new person that's going to come here to make a change, make improvements to make Pittsburgh even more prosperous than what it is right now.
So I'm gonna have to apologize. We had the same issue yesterday. I've not figured out what's causing it. The first part of our interview, the audio didn't appear to show up right. So I want to give you an opportunity to introduce yourself again. We'll trim this out, make it good. So please reintroduce yourself. That way we capture the audio, and then
So the whole intro.
You know, well, now you've had practice. So I apologize.
So you
for
pause it
that.
right now, or
No,
is it
just
still-
this is. I'm
Or
Wolfgang
live stream?
Croskey, yes, Chamber CEO, and we are doing our candidate interview series, and we are lucky enough to have one of the candidates for Pittsburg City Council with us today. It's Iztaccuauhtli Hector Gonzalez. He is a business owner here in Pittsburgh, been a long-term resident in Pittsburgh. So go ahead and reintroduce yourself, and we'll continue on from there.
Well, like to say my parents are born in Mexico, one right on the border, and I was born here in California, the first 4 or 5 years in Southern California, Los Angeles, and moved to Concord when I was 4 or 5 years old, then to West Pittsburgh before it was before it became Bay Point, and then back to Concord, and then always had family in Pittsburgh, Concord, Bay Point, friends in Antioch. Grew up, did my elementary, junior high, high school here in the Concord area, and since 2006 I've been at Pittsburgh, California. My 75% of my are from northern Jalisco. Actually, my dad's from Iztaccuauhtli, Jalisco, where a good percentage of the Mexican community are from Iztaccuauhtli, Jalisco, which is why we have a sister city program where we have Iztaccuauhtli, Mexico as a sister city of Pittsburgh, California. And just like we have a sister city in Italy, which a portion of our historic population from Italy too, when we used to have a lot of the commercial fishermen businesses here in Pittsburgh, California in the early part of our history. So, but once I finished my high school, I had the opportunity to go to Cal Poly San Luis Obispo as an aeronautical engineer. Did all my calculus courses 1, 2, 3, and 4, my physics, my Fortran computer language, and my aeronautical course. And a lot of my friends at that time were switching to mechanical engineering because the Soviet Union had imploded. A lot of the jobs were being cut in the NASA aerospace industry. So a lot of people were saying there's going to be less opportunity in that field. And I wanted to travel abroad to open my horizons, and I switched my major to history to make it easier to travel, and did a 1 year in Mexico City where my parents were concerned, the biggest city in all of the Americas, bigger than New York, hearing some crime stories and not knowing any family, no one over there. But I took the risk, the plunge, and wanted to learn get different experiences. And I actually went to a university that was one of the top 5 universities in Mexico, just like Yale, Harvard, the elite of Mexico City, where the richest people send their students, their children. And a lot of these students had in the parking lot their new cars, their new cell phones, their new laptops. Where here in California, that was the cell phones were barely coming out, the laptops were barely coming out, but yet they had it in the elite of Mexico. So I got to exposure from there, having come from a humble background where my dad only was at first grade. He had to stop going to school to be a goat herder to support the family business, of goating herds and milking them, getting cheese to sell, to survive. And my mom lost her mother at a young age, and a lady convinced them to go to El Paso, where she kind of became a servant, wasn't allowed to go to school, wasn't allowed to eat all the food at a young age, had to babysit the grandchildren and iron all the clothes. So kind of maybe not slavery, but one step in between, I would say. And then finally at 18 was able to escape from that situation and go to become opportunities in Los Angeles, where she met my dad, and that's where I came up. And I was able to help my mom clean houses at a young age, help my dad do landscaping, gardening, learn, when it was cold in the winter, pull weeds and, do a lot of work. And then at age 14, got my job at Burger King, working at $3 and I think it was $3.35 an hour.
Yeah.
And at 16, got my job working at Target. And so I always loved to work. And actually, after college, I was a teacher for a few years, taught at Pittsburg Unified School District, started as a substitute teacher, and I got the opportunity to take over a position with the community day program at Pittsburg Unified School District, where I met another teacher by the name of Mr. Croskey, which is the father of our president here at
something I learned.
And it was a great opportunity to learn his background from law enforcement, and he was always good energy. We would divide up the students into classrooms and work with them one-on-one, and there was a lack, a lot of them didn't know how to read and write, and we had from elementary to high school students. So it was a good opportunity to work with these young future, potential scholars. And we besides that, I also taught at Central Junior High School, did some science and math, and did West Contra Costa Unified School District as a history teacher in 7th and 8th grade. And I did 6th and 7th grade. And then also did Pittsburg Unified School District as an adult school, teaching English as a second language. And then I decided to go into business, started an insurance financial services business to help clients protect their income and assets and grow their retirement accounts and their college savings plans for their children. And then clients started asking me for help, advice on mortgages. I got my license to mortgage, loan originate, and then clients told me if I could sell their houses. So I started helping them with the real estate side, and just helping out our community for the last 25 years. Been in serving the business, my clients, and been housed my business in Pittsburgh since 2006. So I had the opportunity to have a ground feel of the level of whether clients have a situation where their cars, catalytic converters are being stolen, whether their packages are being stolen, whether their house was broken into, or just tools being stolen from their work trucks or their vehicles. Just hearing what's going on and encouraging them to do police reports. I'm not wanting to do so because they don't believe nothing's going to happen. So I want to be here for the clients, know what's going on, how we can better serve our community. And
so as a business owner, how do you feel being a business owner helps you if you were elected to city council? What skill set or what extra value does that, in your opinion, bring that if somebody that wasn't a business owner wouldn't have?
Well, I think a lot of people don't understand how much responsibilities and that to start a business, whether you have to register your business at the county level, at the city level, doing your financial statements, doing the bookkeeping, making sure that's correct, worrying about payroll, how to set up the payroll, making sure you have all the right paperwork in place to to hire someone, what questions you can ask and cannot ask as an employer to employees, follow the rules, prepare manual handbooks. So there's a lot of responsibilities that you have to do to know all the laws so there's a lot. So I think by the city, and we have to be able to reach out to our businesses to what we can do as a city to help grow their businesses, to help make sure that their interests are, that we're providing the services that we can have businesses flourish, so that they can hire more people, that we know what it takes to have more businesses come to Pittsburgh. That way we can have more job opportunities for the people of Pittsburgh, for the future generations that are growing, that are graduating from high school, so they don't have to look for jobs getting a 1 or 2 hour commute, where they can have jobs here. There's a lot of buildings that are empty that we can establish businesses or encourage business to get here, to invest, and to have more of a tax base. By more businesses being here, more money being spent in Pittsburgh, the economy thrives. Our economic revenue grows in the city, where we can have more programs for our community and not have to, maybe raise more bonds, because we have more money coming in where we can invest in the city of Pittsburgh.
So with that, I like that it's as a business owner, you kind of understand what businesses need and what needs to be done to attract them. What do you feel the city is not doing? Because a lot of times when somebody's running for office and they're not the incumbent, they point out the stuff that's wrong, or that's why you need to elect me because I can fix this. So what needs to be fixed in order to attract more businesses to Pittsburgh?
Well, definitely starting by step one is let's getting out, whether it's some of our city employees or even our city council members, when we could take some time to visit our businesses, our businesses, check in with them. Hey, just wanted to check in, seeing how everything business was, what the city could do, what are your priorities, what are your concerns. Listen to the voices of businesses, and if consumers are there, asking them too, getting a feel of what our community wants, not just hearing what persons that are more outspoken will let our city know, but we need to get out there more.
Okay, and so that's one item. What other pieces do you think need to be done that you'll be able to help champion to attract more businesses to Pittsburgh if elected?
Like we could work with here in the city if we hear that the cities, like the businesses want a certain presentation, that they don't understand this type of how to marketing, how to do websites, how to do this. Maybe we could find a local business that does, maybe 1 or 2 or 3 that does web design or provide services, where we could have them do a presentation, what's important, how they can market businesses. That way the businesses are aware of all the tools that they have that are around, that they could either hire or try to do it themselves to be able to get their business up and going.
You mentioned vacant spaces in Pittsburgh. There's definitely several that are in prominent locations that have been vacant for a while. What ideas or strategies would you bring to help fill those?
Well, I would say let's talk to the owners of those vacant buildings. Ask them, are you attempting to rent out the location? Or what are your plans for this location? Are you sitting on the property just for the future, or do you actually want to rent it out? And what type of business would you want to rent it out to? Maybe do a little tour on some of these vacant buildings. What are the potentials? Maybe having a consultant look at these vacant buildings. What is going to be needed to invest in these buildings to be able to, and maybe like have a partnership where we have, we're going to provide this low interest rate loan to be able to invest in this building, to be able to come up with a business tenant that's going to rent it, to be able to provide more jobs in the Pittsburgh, or bring more economic development, into the city.
What other parts what is your total platform for City Council? We talked a little bit about business and that experience. What else is important to you?
The priority is to make Pittsburgh more prosperous.
Okay.
I think we should get out, what are the top cities in our county, like San Ramon, Walnut Creek, Brentwood's been doing good. Learn what the best things of these cities, what are the best things that they're doing. And then maybe look at some of the cities that are having some challenge. Okay, let's talk. Some people say Antioch's having some challenge. Okay, let's see what are the challenges that you guys are encountering, so that we learn from the challenges cities are dealing with, so that we can learn what not to do or what they're working to make it better. But and then look at the cities that are having a good reputation, where people love that city, that they're what are they doing, to learn. Because if we're just focusing just here, not getting out, we're not getting the great ideas that are other people have come up with, where we don't have to, we could mimic their ideas, see what they did, look at their blueprint, and maybe taking the best of that and making it here in Pittsburgh.
What are some areas that you think need to be focused on to make Pittsburgh more prosperous?
Well, I think working there's only a certain amount of our budget that we have, probably less than 15% that we have to work with. Maybe 85% is already kind of committed to all the stuff that we got going on, but we have to think sometimes out of the box too. Working with community organizations, whether it's some of the nonprofits, some of the churches, some of the school organizations, the schools, the community colleges, and how we can get more community involvement to maybe, like, for example, let's say we want to do a beautification project. We don't have the budget for this. Okay, let's get an idea. Let's have a contest in the high school. Well, how could we design this? Or maybe we could find some architectural, landscape architecture help design, where we're going to promote them, that they did this, a contest between some of them, where we get this idea. We got the idea. Now let's try to see if we could fundraise by some of the community organizations, some of the citizens. We might have some citizens that are sitting on a lot of money, that they decided not to have children, that they want to donate some of their legacy to the city. So we have to, we have a wealth of information in the community. We just got to engage our community more to be able to get them more involved and find.
So obviously, if you were elected, you'd only be one seat. There's 5 total council members, and you have to get a majority. This is kind of a question I ask everybody, or a thread of conversation around working together. How do you see yourself working with the current city council members? How would you go about trying to get some of these ideas to work?
Well, if I'm given the opportunity to be voted in for to serve here on the city council, jump on meeting with our fellow city council members, getting ideas, and checking in also what are the great ideas some of the past city council members have that they didn't see come in. What were the obstacles to get those goes? Whether it's some of the development that they wanted to do, some things that they wanted to do, whether even our county supervisor wanted to do the waterfront from Hercules all the way to Antioch. What are some ways, some ideas? Maybe Pittsburgh could be the leader that designs some of these, some great ideas that we could do, whether it be like mini Fisherman's 39, or where we have more tourists here, or whether we have more job opportunities, whether we have a place where people want to get married and have the receptions, or conventions, So there's a lot of opportunities to do.
With those opportunities, there's obviously, resources that are required, different groups, trying to get everybody to go into play. What obstacles do you see potentially for some of these ideas that you proposed?
Sometimes there's legitimately concern, not in my backyard. Sometimes people are happy with status quo. So there might be some community members, I don't want anything built, I don't want anything this, I don't want any, I just like it the way it is. And there might be some of that, so that might be some obstacles. There's always any decision, any change, any new opportunities, there's always going to be some. There might be a lot of good, and there might be some people that could think of something bad, right?
Mm-hmm.
That or consequences. So we just have to work with what is have input from our community, from our members here on our city council, our small business owners, working together, to how to make these ideas, make them a reality.
Okay. Now, there's quite a few propositions that are on the ballot this year. Honestly, a lot of them. But there's a couple that are kind of hot topics. There's Proposition 33, which is rent control, and then there's 36, which is, trying to deal with the retail theft. And in both of those, there's a lot of extra stuff. What's your position on both of those? Because I know a lot of people want to talk about, affordable housing, retail theft, quality of life crimes, all this stuff. We haven't really talked about that. What are your thoughts and opinions on those?
Well, on the propositions, I have not read them to tell you I made a decision on all these propositions. I usually like to 24 hours, 48 hours before read it in detail.
And not necessarily asking you for vote yes or no, but just those I think are out of the measures. Those are the two that the majority of voters in Pittsburgh are kind of thinking about. So rent control, affordable housing, property owner rights, that's one bucket. The other one is getting tougher on crime. So I think people would like to hear your stances on those two topics. Not necessarily how you're going to vote, but just
on rent control. There's always pros and cons. I could see for someone that's renting a location, whether it's an apartment complex, a duplex, fourplex, a single family home. There's certain if for example if they're renting a home, single family home that a person owns, even though the state has rent control, it doesn't apply to when it's a single family rental home where it's just one property, the owner only owns one home. They can file something where they can not have to abide by the state law, because state law was made for when someone has triplex, fourplex, or has multiple properties, or is a corporation. Like it's geared for more of those landlords to make sure that how much rent they could increase. So there's certain so not every. And then one of the things that I think I think rent control, the state has something that works pretty good. I think if every city starts to do a different rent control, it could get really confusing. Let's say if someone doesn't believe in the stock market but wants to invest their money and wants to buy, their plan is to buy 3, 4, 5 properties to use that as a retirement. I think that should be an option for our community to be able to do that and to provide good, clean, habitational for those that want to rent for a year or two, or coming in to work for a few years in the Bay Area and then are going to move somewhere else. So we need to have a healthy rental market. At the same, I think we as a city have to be able to work with our builders to make more supply. Because part of the rents going really expensive is not having enough supply. So if we don't have enough supply and we have a lot of demand, that's going to be an issue where it's going to be very expensive rents. So I think the best route to long term to have rent at an affordable level is having enough supply in the market, and supply and demand. And then if we have some I've heard from different people in builders, some people in the real estate business, that they feel if there's a rent control for that are really strict, like they're not going to want to invest in property. They're not going to want to build a 100-unit apartment complex, saying that they're only going to be able to raise their rents 1%, or it's not going to keep up with the increasing taxes, with increasing insurance to cover, like a lot of you guys that own a home, you guys know how much homeowners has been going up crazy, and so they want to be able to be in the business of being able to rent apartments. And if it's on a long term, they look at the laws that it's not going to be profitable in the future. They're not going to be able to. They're going to lose money. They're not going to want. You're not going to see anyone wanting to invest for apartment complexes. So then that's one thing we have to be careful. And any decisions that we do, we have to look at it on a win-win basis, long term,
Yeah.
not
So
just short term.
what I'm hearing is kind of moderation. Like there's a little bit from both sides that could help with the solution.
Exactly, and I support like the city maybe working with the county level, having resources for our tenants, because there could be abusive landlords that might not respect the tenants, or might you hear some. I talked to a person that had their blanking out their security deposit kept by the landlord. So we need to let the tenants know their rights too, and that way we have that they can consult with, whether it be an attorney for a couple hours for free by the county, or have some resources to support our tenants, and maybe at the same time offer it to a limited to the landlords. So that way we can have.
Because there's abusive tenants out there too.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, I've heard a lot of horror stories where some tenants brought in a lot of people, and then they brought in a lot of debris and a lot of stuff, where eventually they costed $10,000 to remove the items.
Easy.
And sometimes I myself have had experiences where you had to spend $5,000-$10,000 where the deposit wasn't even enough to cover that.
Yeah.
To get it back ready to rent. So.
Yeah. How about on the retail theft and just crime in general, and more support for law enforcement? Or
I haven't read the proposition, but what I've
not
heard,
so much that proposition, but just in general.
What I've heard is you could steal up to $950 and not have any consequences, which I think most people, including you that are listening to this, would not like someone breaking your window of your vehicle to take your backpack, to take whatever your charger, whatever items they see in there, or breaking into your house and taking your TV, your whatever it might be, clothes, whatever they might see that they like. That because it's less than $950, there's not going to be consequences, or going to Safeway or going into Target and stealing items, where businesses are not going to appreciate that, and they're going to have to pass on the cost to everyone else that are there to pay. Mm-hmm. That makes it more expensive for everyone. So and that makes it where some businesses are saying, you know what, this crime is really high in this area, we're not going to have our store, we're getting hit with 5, 10, 15, 20% of our inventory is being stolen. Let's close out shop and be in cities where there are more, less crime, less shoplifting. So we have to be able to support our businesses that are, making sure that we as a city, and talking to our police department, to making sure that we are holding little crimes accountable, and where there's like, we should even, like, you guys have heard probably in Alameda County there was a lot of crimes that were not being followed up on, were prosecuted, where even the governor of the state of California, they stepped in and they got some of the California National Guard judges to support and work as judges, where the California provided them to be able to help prosecute a lot of the crime that wasn't being prosecuted, to help in the prevention. Because if someone knows that they could steal, they can graffiti 45,000 of damage throughout the city of Pittsburgh, if they could break windows and they're released with no consequences and they're not being prosecuted, there's no consequences. We have to have consequences, but at the same time, we have to have with our community organizations, with our schools, with our churches, with different entities in the city of Pittsburgh and the city. We have to work with our youth to have sports, have opportunities, have after-school programs. Sometimes we have two husband and wife or households or single parents that are raising the children that aren't able to be there at times when their children can hang out with their friends and do bad decisions. So we have to have opportunities to that by having our young people and our teenagers in our early 20s having opportunities, whether it's job opportunities, whether it's to grow, to learn skills, and being busy in sports, being busy working, they can not want to have the bad ideas of let's break into this, let's steal these, so I think that's going to help too. Not only the punitive, the stick, but also the carrots. We have to provide
And where do you see city council playing a role in all of that? Because it's for to unpack that answer, there's a lot. There's youth services, there's nonprofits, there's probably church organizations. There's a lot of groups that could help with those items that you discussed. Where do you see city council specifically fitting in to help address that?
I think sometimes we might have some money to help in some projects, but I would say helping coordinate, helping, some of the nonprofits that we have in our Pittsburgh and the local area, working, getting some of our Congress, our state assembly, state senators, working with, trying to find money, grants, volunteers to write grants to help our nonprofits to create some of getting there's the Future Leaders of America. There's a program where you can learn how government works that we had through the Keller Canyon funding to take some of the students to learn about how the government and the court systems work, that they're going to in November to Camp Roberts to learn how it works, and then in February they go to Sacramento to take over the Capitol and judge and act like they're the state senators, the lawyers, the judge, and it gets people more involved to see whether they decide to go in that field in the future or whether they just learning as citizens. A lot of times we as citizens in Pittsburgh and our community don't know of all the opportunities that we have and how to be more involved. Some people think the city's running by itself, but it could be more efficient, do more things if there's more community involvement. And that's why we have to open the door to have more community involvement so that they can say, this is my city and I want to be part of the city. How can I, as a citizen, not come to the city and say, what can you do for me, city, but how can I contribute to you? How can I be part of this city to make it more prosperous? So
basically, for you, it's city council is being able to connect the resources and get people working together in a collaborative way to address some of these problems.
That's correct.
Okay. Well, I want to thank you for your time. We've definitely covered quite a few topics. I'm going to give you closing remarks to tell people about how they can learn more about you and your platform, if you have any upcoming events, and in general, why people should vote for you.
Yeah, and as I humbly ask for your vote, but not only that, I want to be your voice. I don't want to do your voice is important. Your voice is powerful, and it has to be heard. There might be one of you listening that has an idea that we have not thought of. The other city council members that a city has, that you have an idea. We want to hear it. We want to know what your priorities are. We want to know how the city can be of value to you to make it more prosperous. Whether it's supporting, how do we support more our police, our firefighters, how to develop our businesses that we have, how to bring in more businesses. What are some of the ideas that we can do like an idea for a business that you might have that we can support, or a business that you know of that we can invite and show them around and get how to meet their needs to be able to have more of a workforce here. There's a lot of, and we're centrally located between Sacramento, the capital of one of the most powerful. If California was its own country, it's one of the top 5 countries in the world. So we're right driving distance, less than an hour from the capital, where a lot of decisions are made. We're close to San Francisco, where we could just jump on the BART and be in San Francisco. We're Silicon Valley, where the big tech firms are. So we have a lot. We're in the middle strategically, and located in all these powerful, where there's a lot of power, a lot of technology, a lot of potential, where we can use a lot of that and untap it and bring it forward, right, to move forward as a community. And so I think there's a lot we could do. We just have to, every one of you listening, do a little extra. In order to be an extraordinary city, we have to take it up and not just be ordinary. We have to do a little extra. Whether it's starting with your life, every day, what am I going to do extra for me? What am I going to do extra for my family? What am I going to do extra for my neighbors and community? So I could do extra for my city, for my county, for my state, and for my country, and for this world.
Mm-hmm.
We have to step up, get out of our comfort zone, and do a little more. And running for Pittsburg City Council, running the businesses that I have, having my beautiful wife, having everyone happy, and it's a lot of work, but we have to do it. We have to step up. So I encourage you, step up, be extra, and to be extraordinary, and let's move forward.
How would, not to interrupt you, but where would people go? Do you have a website or email address? Where
Yes.
would they contact you?
My website, I put it as my first name, Iztaccuauhtli, which means white eagle, .info. So it's easy. I thought instead of just Hector Gonzalez or being long, white eagle. So white eagle .info, INFO. So you could get all the info, and my cell phone's on there. You could email, you could text, you could do a chat there. You could donate, because we have 75,000 people that live here. We have 39,000 registered voters. Last 4 years ago, there was 29,000 voters, and I want to reach as many. And it's pretty expensive, to print out a lot of brochures. And my wife doesn't want us to spend, which we have already, our vacation fund. Hopefully you could help contribute so we could get the word out, because I'm doing it to serve, but it's a community group.
Awesome.
So let's serve.
Awesome. Well, thank you. Thank you for your time. Again, this is part of the Pittsburgh Chamber of Commerce's series where we're interviewing candidates for this upcoming general election in November. Make sure that you are registered to vote, and make sure you do vote. November 5th is Election Day. Ballots have already been sent out. You should have received them. If you're some households, you probably received more than one, right? That seems to be another problem, but we'll save that for another interview. Again, Wolfgang Croskey, Pittsburgh Chamber of Commerce, and this is our candidate series, and we look forward to interviewing our other candidates next week.
Let your voice be heard. Thank you very much, Mr.
Yes,
Croskey.
you're welcome.
Thank you.